All right, so this is the notes on the introduction to inequalities. So here I have the notes. You're going to have these either as a paper copy, or you may be having this maybe play on your phone as you're doing them on Notability on your iPad. So, or you're just flipping back and forth. Either way works. But here is your notes on the introduction to inequalities. You should be writing everything down, filling out the entire note sheet as I do the notes. So, to start off with, what is an inequality? Inequalities are very similar to equations, what we've worked on before. The only difference is an inequality is going to have a solution, and hopefully my writing's not too bad, but a solution that has many solutions. And you're gonna see what I mean by that as we go through the notes here. So to discuss the different symbols, because in an equation you're going to have an equal sign. With inequalities, you're going to have different symbols. So hopefully this is a little bit of review. Greater than is like that, and then less than looks like this, and then greater than or equal to is going to have the greater than sign, but it's going to have a line underneath it. That's greater than or equal to. And then less than or equal to. What that means is the greater than or less than sign means that it is greater than the number, whereas greater than or equal to means that it is greater than or it could be equal to that number. So as we're going to kind of shift down here a little bit, okay, and when graphing an inequality, when will you use a closed dot? Okay, when we're graphing inequalities, we will use closed dots. And again, you're going to see what I mean by that a little bit later. But this is what you draw a circle, and a closed dot will have it all shaded in. Okay, a closed dot is used when the answer is, that's supposed to be is, included in the solution. Like I said, when we go over this, it'll make more sense. So a closed dot is used when the answer is actually included in your solution. When graphing an inequality, you're going to use an open circle. So an open circle just looks the same thing, except it's not shaded in. You're going to use this when the answer is not included in the solution. Like I said, again, we're gonna revisit this here, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Closed dot when your answer is included in the solution, and an open circle when the answer is not included in the solution. So as we look at the symbols now, we can draw the appropriate circles. So a greater than means that it is greater than the solution, but it does not include the actual answer in the solution. So greater than and less than are both going to be open circles. For example, if I said x is less than 2, well, that means that x is less than 2. Could the answer be 2? No, because the answer has to be less than 2. So that's when we would use an open circle, because it means it's actually less than the answer, but not including the answer. Now when we use greater than or equal to, those are closed circles because they actually include the solution. Meaning that if I said that x is less than or equal to 2, that means that we would put a closed dot at 2 because it includes 2 in the solution, because it says greater than or less than or equal to, meaning it can be less than 2 or equal to 2. So that's why we do the solid lines. So as we move down, get a little practice here with doing these graphs. So our first one, A says that C is less than -2. So we always have to write multiple numbers on here. So the middle number doesn't always have to be 0. I can make this right side be 0, and then this be -2, and then since we're going by 2s, maybe this is -4. So now I know that I'm going to work with -2. So is it a closed dot or is it an open dot? Well, because C is less than 2, it can't actually be -2, because if it was -2, it wouldn't work, because -2 is not less than -2. So we put an open dot, and what that means is it's going to be less than 2 but not including -2. And then all you do is mark a line and kind of shade everything that is less than -2. C is less than. Less than is left. Greater than is right. So less than means to the left of -2. Now as we look at B, it says that 4 is less than M. So we can read it backwards too. I always like to read it from what the variable is. Since the variable is on the right side, you actually have M is greater than or equal to 4. If we read it from, I always read it from the variable. So I start from here and go this way then. So M is greater than or equal to 4. So we can start with 0 here and make this 4. And since we're going by 4s, we can make this one 8. Since I know it's greater than, I know I'm going to go with the right. So I can start at 4. Now this is greater than or equal to. So now 4 is actually included because 4 is a solution. If I put 4 in there, it is greater than or equal to 4. Now since it's greater than, we go right. And we're going to shade, make it nice and bold so you can tell, and going in that direction. And that's how we do it. That's how you graph inequality. We'll talk about graphing more complicated inequalities later, but these are the pretty simple ones. Okay? All right. So the first arrow here says, what does the open circle mean in example A? Is 2 a solution to the inequality? And we just talked about that. The open circle means that it does not include the answer. So is -2 a solution? No. -2 is not a solution. That is why it's an open circle. And the exact opposite goes when we go to the next one here. It says both inequalities have a less than symbol. That is true. Both inequalities have a less than symbol. So why then do the graphs go in opposite directions? Well, you have to look at the actual things. And this is what I was talking about up here. The M is on the right side. So you read it from right to left. So it would say M. And since the alligator's mouth is pointing towards the variable, it means greater than. So M is greater than 4. Whereas in A, the alligator's mouth actually points opposite from the C, so that is a less than. That's why they go in opposite directions, because one is greater than, one is less than. So, or to write it in here, you could say 1 opens to the variable, and the other does not. One opens to the variable and the other does not. That's why they go in opposite directions. Okay, let's move on to the second page. I have to go down here. So here we're on the second page. We're going to get a little practice with shading and drawing inequalities here. So you have a couple things that you need to read, and I'll read them for you. Just read them along with me. Graphing inequalities. There are several things you need to keep in mind when graphing an inequality. 1, your number line must have arrows on the end. Okay, you got to have an arrow. When you shade in your line, you got to have an arrow on the end. 2, you must have at least 3 numbers in the number line. Okay, with these number lines, it's real easy. I always kind of put 0 on one end, and depending on what way I'm going to be going, I go in that direction. And you'll see here when we do the next 4 problems here. You will include the answer, 1 number smaller, and than the answer, and 1 number higher than the answer. You can look at the examples A and B I did on the previous page. Number 3, you must include a proper circle. Whether it's open or closed, it needs to be correct. Number 4, draw your arrow dark enough, that's what I was talking about, really bold it, to distinguish it from the number line. And number 5, you must include an arrow on the end of your shading. So again, we're going to go through all of these in each of these problems. So x, letter A, x is greater than 6. Since I know that it is greater and I know that I'm going right, I start from the left and put a 0. Get my pen back here. 0. Your answer will go in the middle. And then since it looks like I'm going by 6s, I'll make the next one a 12. Now, I can put x is greater than 6. I can put a 6 here since it doesn't include 6 because it says that x is greater than 6. That means it doesn't include it. I need an open circle. And greater than goes to the right. And I make my line nice and bold so you can see it and put an arrow on the end. And if you go through all of the checklists, you'll see I have a number less than, which is 0. I have a number more than, which is 12. I made my line thick enough, and I drew an arrow on the end. So that is the criteria. B. B is flipped around, but it says exactly the same thing. Because the variables on the right, I'm going to read from right to left. It says x, again, is greater than 6. So again, same exact thing. 6 and 12. Put an open circle at 6 and then shade to the right. It's the same exact answer. Now we look at C and D. It's same thing. C says x is greater than or equal to 6. So same exact thing. I'm going to put 0, 6, and 12. But now, since it says x is greater than or equal to 6, 6 is now a solution. So I need to put a circle at 6. And then shade to the right. D, same thing. It's just written backwards. Again, since the variable's on the right-hand side, I can read from right to left it still says x is greater than 6. So 0, 6, 12, fill in my circle, and shade. Alright, let's continue on. It says if you're having trouble deciding which direction to shade, follow these steps. And this is just a kind of check. Try a number that is in the shaded region and see if it makes sense. For example, if I look at A, it says x is greater than 6. If I try any number that is in the shaded region, so let's say, 10. 10 would be in the shaded region. Let's see if this works. If I put 10 in for x in letter A, it would say 10 is greater than 6. Is that true? Yeah, of course it's true. 10 is greater than 6. So it works, and you made the correct answer. Okay, if you were to choose something like, let's look at letter B. Look at letter B. If I were to choose an answer like 0, okay, and put it in for x, it would read that 6 is less than 0. Well, that doesn't make any sense. 6 is not less than 0. So 0 would not be a solution. So that's kind of how you can check it. So let's go finally to these last problems here, 1 through 4. I'm gonna do a couple here. I'm gonna do number 1 and number 3, and then I'm gonna let you fill in numbers 2 and 4. So as we do 1 and 3, remember, treat inequalities the exact same way as you treat equations. Exact same. It's gonna have a different symbol in the middle, but it's exactly the same. So just like in regular problems, hey, you might subtract the 7 first. Okay, these would cancel. So I have x over 4 is less than 10 minus 7 is 3. And so I have a fraction. I need to get rid of the fraction, so I multiply by the denominator. The denominator is 4. So this will cancel. And so I have x is less than 3 times 4 is 12. Same exact thing. Okay, the only difference is with these problems here is it says solve each inequality, but you also have to draw a number line. So we need to draw a number line. So real quick, we're going to draw a number line. We have to make our own number line with three lines. Since I know that x is less than 12, I know it's going to go left. Okay, I still put 12 in the middle. Okay, I know it's going to go left, so I want to put a lower number on the right. 6, 12, and then you can do 18. Doesn't matter. You want to put your solution in the middle. Okay, and if it's going left or going right, it doesn't really make any difference. Okay, so x is less than 12. So it's not equal to 12. 12 is not a solution. Otherwise, it would say x is less than or equal to 12. So I put an open circle. Less than goes to the right, so I shade to the right. And actually I could just do this in a different color. There you go. And then put an arrow on the end. That's it. That's all you do. So let's try number 3. I'll switch back to blue here. We'll try number 3. Scroll down. All right. Variables on both sides. Remember, just like before, you want to bring it to the variable that has the highest value. So on the left, because I need to cross through the sign here, I'm going to do the opposite, which is minus 2c. Minus 2c. These will cancel. So I have negative 6 is less than or equal to 3c minus 2c is 1c, or I can just put c. Minus 2. And then again, I need to move the 2 over. Since it needs to cross the equal sign, I add 2, add 2. These will cancel. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4, less than or equal to c. And there is your answer. Again, we're going to draw another number line here. I'll draw it in black. 1, 2, 3. And I'll put on here, remember you put your solution in the middle. So -4 goes in the middle. I put 1 lower, so 0, and then -8. You want to go by the same amount. Notice how all of these numbers go by the same amount. On number 1, I went by 6s. Number 3, I went by 4s. And if you look at the other problems, I went by the same amount on each dash. So now I'm going to do my color in red here. 4 is my solution. So remember, the variable is on the right-hand side now. And so C is greater than or equal to -4. So greater than or equal to means that I'm going to put a solid dot. Greater than or equal to. So greater than goes right, and so I shade to the right. And that is it. That's how you're going to do your work. So make sure you finish up the notes, have everything completed. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me on Canvas. Thank you very much.